You keep waiting for motivation, but that delay is the real problem. Motivation is unstable. It rises and disappears without warning. That is why your consistency breaks, even when your goals are clear. Structure is what keeps you moving when motivation fails. Without structure, even strong intentions turn into unfinished plans. Your brain naturally avoids effort when there is no system in place. So you end up starting strong, but stopping halfway every time. The issue is not discipline, it is lack of organized direction. Structure removes decision fatigue from your daily life, because you already know what to do next without thinking. When everything depends on mood, progress becomes unpredictable. But when everything follows structure, progress becomes automatic. You don't rise to motivation, you fall to your system. That is why systems always beat emotional energy. A structured plan eliminates confusion before it even starts. And confusion is the biggest enemy of consistent action. Most people fail not because they lack ability. They fail because they have no repeatable process. Structure turns effort into routine instead of struggle. And routine reduces mental resistance over time. When you rely on motivation, every day feels like a restart. But structure allows you to continue where you left off. That continuity is what creates real long-term growth. Without structure, your energy is wasted on deciding what to do. And that drains focus before the work even begins. Structure solves this by removing unnecessary choices. It creates a clear path for action every single day. Your mind performs better when it follows predictable patterns, because predictability reduces stress and improves focus. That is why athletes and high performers rely on strict routines. They don't wait to feel ready before they act. They follow systems that guide their behavior automatically. Motivation changes daily, but structure stays consistent. And consistency is what actually builds success. When your life is structured, discipline becomes easier because you are no longer negotiating with yourself. You simply follow the system you already built. This removes emotional conflict from decision-making and replaces it with clarity and direction. Structure also reduces procrastination naturally, because every task has a defined place and time. There is no room for confusion or delay. You stop asking, "Should I do this?" and start executing. That shift changes everything about your productivity. Motivation feels powerful, but structure is what makes it sustainable. One gives energy, the other gives direction, and direction matters more than energy in the long run. You don't need more motivation to succeed. You need a system that works, even when you don't feel like working. Structure is what turns goals into reality, because it removes randomness from your actions and replaces it with predictable progress. Without structure, your potential stays scattered. With structure, your potential becomes focused and powerful. You stop relying on emotional highs and lows and start building consistent, controlled progress. That is how real success is created over time, not through bursts of motivation, but through systems. Structure is what separates dreamers from achievers, because achievers don't wait, they follow systems, and systems always outperform motivation. Every result in your life is shaped by structure or lack of it. If you change your structure, you change your life. And that change starts with daily systems, not emotions. Next, we will build the exact structure that creates consistency. Now we shift from understanding structure to actually building it in real life. Because structure only works when it is applied daily, not just understood. The first step is creating a fixed daily routine. A routine removes uncertainty from your mornings and evenings. When your day is predictable, your mind becomes calmer and more focused. You no longer waste energy deciding what to do first. Instead, you already have a clear sequence of actions. The second step is defining your top 3 daily priorities, not 10 tasks. Not endless lists, only 3 key outcomes. This forces your mind to focus on what actually matters and prevents distraction from low-value activities. Without priorities, everything feels equally important and overwhelming. Structure solves this by creating clear importance levels. The third step is time blocking your day. Each task gets a specific time window, not just a vague intention. This turns your schedule into a controlled system instead of chaos. When time is assigned, procrastination becomes harder to justify because you already know exactly when to act. The fourth step is building a consistent start ritual, a small, repeatable action that signals your brain to begin work. It could be sitting at your desk, opening notes, or deep breathing. This ritual removes friction from starting tasks, and starting is always the hardest part of any work. The fifth step is removing decision overload from your environment. Too many choices slow down your ability to act. Structure reduces choices so your brain can focus on execution. Even small decisions like what to do next drain mental energy. The sixth step is setting clear deadlines for every task. Deadlines create urgency and prevent endless delay. Without deadlines, tasks expand and lose importance. With deadlines, your brain treats them as real commitments. The seventh step is building a simple reward system. Your brain needs feedback for completing tasks. Small rewards reinforce consistent behavior. This strengthens discipline over time without relying on motivation. Structure also requires consistency and timing. Doing tasks at random times weakens your system, but doing them at fixed times builds strong habits. Another key element is planning the night before. This removes morning confusion and increases clarity. You wake up with direction instead of uncertainty, and direction always improves execution speed. Structure also means controlling distractions intentionally. You cannot build consistency in a chaotic environment, so you must design your environment for focus. Every successful system reduces thinking and increases doing, because thinking too much leads to hesitation, and hesitation leads to procrastination. Structure is not about being strict, it is about being consistent. It gives freedom by removing daily confusion and replaces randomness with predictable progress. That predictability is what builds long-term success. When structure becomes part of your life, discipline becomes automatic. You stop relying on emotional energy to act and start relying on systems instead. Over time, your behavior becomes stable and controlled. You no longer struggle with starting tasks because your system starts them for you. That is the real power of structure. It turns intention into action without emotional struggle, and action becomes your default state. You stop negotiating with yourself every day because your system already decides for you. And that is how consistency is built. Next, we will turn structure into unstoppable daily execution. Now we go deeper into turning structure into real daily execution because having a system means nothing if you don't follow it consistently. Execution is where most people break their own plans. They build structure but fail to live inside it. The difference between success and failure is daily follow-through. The first key is starting before you feel ready, because readiness is a feeling that never arrives on time. Structured people act on schedule, not emotion. This removes hesitation before it even begins, and hesitation is where most progress gets lost. The second key is reducing perfection. Thinking. Perfection slows execution and increases delay. Structure is about progress, not perfect performance. When you aim for perfect, you often end up doing nothing. But when you aim for consistent, you always move forward. The third key is committing to non-negotiable actions. These are tasks you do no matter how you feel. They become the backbone of your daily structure, and they build discipline through repetition. The fourth key is executing in small focused blocks. Long unstructured work leads to fatigue and distraction. Short focused sessions improve clarity and output. Structure works best when time is controlled, not random. The fifth key is eliminating multitasking. Multitasking breaks attention and reduces quality of work. Structure requires single-task focus for maximum output. One task at a time creates stronger results. The sixth key is following your system even on low-energy days, because structure is tested when motivation is missing. Anyone can perform on high-energy days, but structured people perform even when energy is low. The seventh key is tracking your daily actions. What gets measured gets improved over time. Tracking builds awareness of your consistency patterns, and awareness leads to better discipline decisions. The eighth key is removing emotional decision-making. You don't ask, "Do I feel like doing this?" You ask, "Is this part of my structure today?" That shift removes emotional control over your behavior. The ninth key is building momentum through repetition. Every completed action makes the next one easier. Momentum reduces resistance automatically over time, and resistance is what kills consistency. The 10th key is protecting your focus environment. Distractions destroy structure faster than lack of effort. So your environment must support your system, not compete against it. Structure also requires accountability. When no one is watching, your system must still function. That is true discipline. External pressure is temporary. Internal structure is permanent. Another important point is learning to restart quickly after failure. Missing one day is not failure. Staying down is structured. People recover fast and return immediately. They do not wait for motivation to come back. Execution becomes powerful when it is automatic. You stop thinking about every action and start following a predefined path that removes mental resistance completely over time. Structure becomes identity. You become a person who acts consistently, not someone who tries occasionally, and identity determines long-term results. Structure turns discipline into a habit loop. Next, we will conclude by making structure your permanent lifestyle system. Now we reach the final stage, where structure becomes your permanent way of living. At this point, you are no longer building discipline. You are living it daily, because structure has replaced emotional decision-making completely. You don't ask what to do. You already know your system, and that removes confusion from your entire life. When structure becomes identity, consistency becomes effortless. You stop relying on motivation for even small actions, because your actions are already defined by your system. This is where real transformation begins. Your day no longer feels random or chaotic. It follows a predictable and controlled flow, and that predictability creates mental stability. Stable minds perform better in every situation. You start noticing that procrastination naturally decreases because there is no space left for delay. Every action already has a place in your structure, so hesitation loses its power over you. You also gain clarity in decision-making because structure removes unnecessary thinking. You no longer waste energy deciding what comes next. You simply execute the system you built over time. Discipline becomes automatic behavior. You don't force yourself to act anymore. You simply follow what your system demands, and that removes emotional struggle completely. Structure also improves your confidence, because consistent action builds self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of confidence. The more you follow your system, the stronger you feel internally. Your productivity becomes stable, not emotional. It no longer depends on mood or motivation. It depends on structure and repetition. And repetition creates mastery over time. You also become more resilient under pressure, because structure keeps you grounded when things feel overwhelming. You don't break down easily anymore. You fall back on your system. Instead, another transformation is emotional control. You react less and execute more, because structure reduces emotional interference and increases logical action. Your focus also becomes sharper naturally, because your environment and habits support attention. You are no longer fighting distractions every day. You are designed to avoid them automatically. Structure also creates long-term momentum. Every day builds on the previous one. There is no reset, only continuation. And continuation is what creates unstoppable progress. You begin to realize something powerful. Success is not about motivation at all. It is about systems repeated consistently over time. And structure is the system behind everything. At this stage, your life becomes self-managed. You no longer depend on external inspiration, because your internal system is strong enough, and that system runs your behavior automatically. You stop chasing productivity and start living it, because structure has removed inconsistency from your life and replaced it with controlled execution. This is the real meaning of discipline. Not effort, but system-driven action. Not emotion, but structured behavior. And not motivation, but permanent consistency. This is how structure transforms your entire life forever,